This lab is OSPF area types. So in this lab, it's somewhat more complex. I've got topology here with a variety of routers. There's actually 7 routers altogether, and they're configured with different area types. There's also a link to an ERGRP router, this EXT, and that connects to an ASBR, an OSPF ASBR, that's going to advertise ERGRP connected subnets into the OSPF routing domain. So to start with, I'll go through the topology. I'm going to configure Stub 1 as a stub router. This is for area 3, and that connects to an ABR. This ABR2 connects into area 0, and also ABR1 is connected to area 0. ABR1 is also connected to this not-so-stubby area. This is NSSA. That's area 100, and that connects to this ASBR. That's also got a connection to this ERGRP router. And I've also got this area 1 here. This will be a normal area connected to R1. And I've got a totally stubby area as well. This is area 2 connected to this remote router. So the ERGRP, it's got 2 LAN segments, 172.16.1.0 and 172.16.2.0. I'm going to advertise that into the OSPF routing domain. Also the loopback as well on the EXT. The remote router also has a LAN segment, 192.168.1.0/28. I'm going to advertise that as well. And also R1 has a LAN segment, 192.168.40/24. I'm going to advertise that LAN segment into OSPF routing domain. And finally, I've got this Stub 1 router, and that's got a 10.0.10/27 subnet that will also be advertised into area 3 as well. So what I'm going to do is configure all routers with the OSPF global method instead of per interface. I'm going to configure area 3 as a stub network. I'm going to configure area 1 as a normal area. I'm going to configure the backbone area between ABR2 and ABR1. That's area 0. I'm going to configure area 100 as a not-so-stubby area. Finally, I'm going to configure area 2 as a totally stubby area. That's this area 2 that's connected to the remote router. I'm going to advertise LAN segments, WAN-connected subnets, and loopbacks within OSPF. I'm also going to configure EXT with ERGRP and advertise LAN WAN-connected subnets. I'm going to redistribute ERGRP subnets to OSPF routing domain. And finally, do a verify of OSPF adjacencies, area types, and routing tables. So what I'm going to do is go over to Stub 1. I'm going to show you the configuration here. So it's just an interface loopback 0. I've got that set up. That's pretty easy. And there's gig01, that's the LAN subnet. I've also got this connection to ABR2, and it's a standard router OSPF1. Area 3 stub, that's the command to configure a stub area. So area 3 will be a stub. I also have to configure that same command on ABR2 because it's got an interface that'll be part of area 3. So that'll be gig01 is part of area 3. So I've got to configure ABR2 as a stub as well for area 3. And then I'm just going to advertise this 10.0.1 LAN segment to area 3 and also 172.33.5. That's a WAN connected subnet to area 3 and the loopback address at the bottom there. Then I'll go now to ABR2, this one here. And same thing, I've got a loopback. I've got a link to ABR1 router, and that's gig00. That's this one here, gig00. And also a link to the stub router. That'll be that WAN 172.33 is what I've used for WAN connected subnets. That's gig01. And here you can see that I've got area 3 stub, and that's just going to signify that the area 3 is a stub. When you set up area 0, it's similar to a normal area. I don't have to assign anything as far as any specific command. I do when I do the network command. Then I'm going to advertise the WAN connected subnet to area 0 and also the connection to area 3. That's a WAN connected subnet. I want to activate that as well. That's all there is to it. So there's area 0 here and area 3. Next thing I'll do is go on to ABR1. And ABR1 has a connection to area 2, connection to area 1, connection to area 100, the NSSA, and also a connection to area 0. So it's kind of a hub router. Got the loop back there, 192.168.255.100. I've also got the link to the ASBR router, and there's the WAN subnet for that. Then the link to the ABR2 router, and that's area 0. And the link to the remote router, that would be the totally stubby, and it's using 200.201.2. So it's using a 200.211 subnet mask for that WAN link. Then the link to R1, that's a normal area. That's just the WAN connected subnet there, 172.33.4.2. So here I've got area 2 stub no summary. So for area 2, to make it a totally stubby area, you have to use that command area 2 stub no summary. So that says don't permit any summary routes at all into that area. That's what a totally stubby area is. Difference is with a stub area, the standard one here, you can actually advertise summary routes, that's type 3 routes, into this area. What they have in common between stub and totally stub is that they have an ABR injected default summary route into this area. And so any outgoing routes, it basically is using a default route. So anything sent from stub into area 0 is just going to use a default route. The same thing goes for totally stubby. This totally stubby won't permit anything else, not even type 3. So it's only type 1, type 2, and a default route. This will allow you to advertise summary routes into this area 3, into the stub area. That's an important difference. So there's ABR1, so I've got area 2 stub no summary, and that's the totally stubby. I've got area 100 NSSA, and that's this area 100 here. And so it just, ABR1 has a connection to that NSSA area. Then there 172.33.2, that's the WAN link for area 100. And 172.33.3, that's the WAN link to area 0. So there's area 100, area 0. And I've also got this 172.33.4. That's the link to R1, area 1. That's this one here. And I've got this loopback address, 255.100 into area 0. And I've also got this 200.201. This is the WAN link connecting to area 2. That's this one right here into area 2. That's, like I said, a hub router. Then I'll go to R1. It's pretty basic. It's got a loopback 0 interface. It's also got a LAN segment, gig 01. So that's this 01 here, and this is the LAN segment I'm going to advertise. And then it's also got a connection to gig 00, which is the connection as well to the ABR1. And here it's pretty basic as well. There's a 172.33.4. That's a connection to the ABR1. That's area 1. This 192.168.4, that's the LAN segment. That's advertised into area 1, and also the loopback into area 1. So I've got three. I've got the WAN segment, the LAN segment, and the loopback. And onto remote. This is the totally stubby area. I've got a loopback. I've got the link to ABR1. That's gig 00. And there's the WAN address. I've also got this LAN segment 192.168.1.0/28. And there it is there. And I've got area 2 stub no summary. So that's actually the, because it's part of the, it's actually a totally stubby area. So anytime you have these interfaces in a totally stubby, you have to assign it to both routers. And there's the 192.168.1. That's the LAN segment, advertising to area 2. The 15 is just because it's a /28 mask. And then I've got the loopback 255.5, and that's advertised area 2. I've also got the 200.200 WAN segment advertised into area 2. Then ASBR, that's the one at the bottom here. This has got a loopback. It's got the link to the EIGRP router. There's the WAN link there, or the WAN address, I should say. Gig 01, this is the link to ABR1. This is the 172.33.2. So that's the link from here to ABR1. And then finally, there's just this router configuration. Area 100 NSSA is required because it's got an interface in Area 100. Redistribute EIGRP1 subnets. That's just going to redistribute all the EIGRP subnets to OSPF. I'm advertising the WAN connected subnet into Area 100. I'm also advertising the loopback into Area 100. Then finally EXT. EXT is a pretty basic configuration. This is the EIGRP router EXT. It's got an interface loopback 0. It's also got a loopback 1, and that's simulating a LAN address. This is 172.16.2.0. And the other LAN segment is gig01. That's actually a physical interface. It's got 172.16.1.0. So those are the two LAN segments. I could have made them two loopbacks, but I just decided to use a physical interface instead. Then there's the link to ASBR here. This is the gig00. And just to advertise within EIGRP, it's just the router EIGRP1. Then there's the network statements 172.16.1 and 2. And also the loopback 255.1, and also the WAN subnet. That's all there is to it. Pretty straightforward, nothing much to it. So now what I'm going to do is do some verification. So I'll start with the ABR1, and I'll be able to confirm remote R1, ASBR, and ABR2. So most of it right from there. From ABR1, I'll do a show IP OSPF neighbor. There's lots going on there. I didn't do any point-to-point links. I just left it as it was. That's why you're seeing these BDRs. So just kind of ignore that. So there's the neighbors are 255.2, 4, 5, and 1. So there's neighbor 5, 4, 2, and 1 right there. Remote, R1, ABR2, and ASBR. 5, 4, 2, and 1. 5, 4, 2, and 1. So they're all there. So all those neighbors are working. Now we'll just go to ASBR and ABR2. So ASBR. It's got adjacency with 192, 168, 255, 100. And that would be ABR1. We'll just go to ABR1 here. So 192, 168, 255, 100, there's the loopback. So it's actually pairing with the loopback there. So the loopback, there was no router ID on there. So it was just configured a little bit differently. Go back to the SBR here. See, there's no router ID on here, so just using loopbacks, that's fine. And also show IP EIGRP neighbor. And so this interface here, gig00, has got an EIGRP adjacency with the XT. So that's what that is, 172.33.1.1. And that's fine there. That's just on the physical interface. So there's no problem there, that's working. And then ABR2 to stub 1. So it's got adjacency with 192.168.255.3. So that would be this one, stub 1 here, and also ABR1, that same 192.168.255.100 loopback. And there it is there, the top one. So everything's fine there. Now to verify the types of areas, show IP OSPF. We'll do it. There's the routing process, the ID. There's the router ID there, the top. So what have I got here? Okay, reference bandwidth is 100 megabits per second. That's default. Canary backbone 0. There's a loopback and a physical interface in area 0. I'm on ABR1 here, so there's the loopback and there's the gig01. Those are the interfaces there. No authentication. So looking at this line, number of errors in this router is 4. There's 4 routers. 2 are in normal areas, 1 in stub and 1 in NSSA. So the 2 normals would be this one, and area 0 is a normal. Then there's a totally stub and NSSA. So there's 2 there and 2 normal. That's what that's referring to. So that verifies that. And I've got area 1, just showing there's an area 1 there. And then an area 2. It just shows you what's connected here. Generates a stub default route with cost 1. That's area 2. So this is saying that it's going to generate this default summary route into this totally stubby area. And the top one, area 1, is just a normal area. Then area 100, it's NSSA, zoom in type 7 to type 5 conversion, and no authentication. So it gives you this information. It tells you what kind of area. It said this is an NSA 100, this is a stub area, and no summary LSA. That means that it's a totally stubby. So it doesn't say totally stubby. The fact that there's no summary LSA tells you that it is, and generates a stub default route as well. And that's how you know the difference between totally stubby and just a stub area. Area 1's just normal, so there's nothing there. So next I'll go to ABR2 and just verify area 0 and area 3. Area 3 should be a stub and area 0 is normal. ABR2, so I'll do the same command. So again, just to verify ABR2, there's the router ID, 192.168.255.2. Make sure that's correct. Yep, it is there. And let's go to the bottom here. And I want to look at the errors. There's area backbone 0. Number interface in this area is 1. There's only one interface, that's correct. I've also got area 3 here. Number interface in the area is 1. It's a stub area. It's generating a stub default route. So it just says stub. And it doesn't say anything about the no summary. So it's just a stub area. That's area 3. And there's the gig 01's the interface. And the ASBR is the only other thing I want to verify. So I'll just go to ASBR. I'll just go to the bottom here. And area 100, number interfaces in the area is 2. That includes the loopback. It's NSSA area, good. And that's all there is to it. Nothing else, it's just got the single area. So what I want to do now is verify the routing tables. I'm going to start with the remote here. And since this is a totally stubby area, I should only have a single default route in the routing table, since it doesn't allow any routes except a default route. Show IP route. And there it is. Notice this one here. This is this default summary route. This is injected from the ABR1 into this area. That's all it's got. So if it wants to send anything out of this area, it's just using a default route. ABR1 injects that default summary route into area 2. That's all it's got. It's just got that default route, and that's correct. That's what it's supposed to have. Now I'm going to go to Stub 1 router. This is a stub area. So these ERGPR routes will not show up in this stub routing table since it's a stub router, and it won't allow external routes. It will allow summary routes. And so these routes here, 192.168.4.0 and 192.168.1.0, they will get advertised into area 0 as a summary route. So what will happen is that will end up in the stub routing table. You'll also get a default summary route as well. Okay, so there's the default summary route. That's injected from ABR2. That's a default route. That provides connectivity outbound from area 3. And then there's also, where's 192.168.1. So there's the interior route, 192.168.1.0. And that is correct. I should also have 192.168.4.0. That's correct. So they're there. Got the WAN connected subnets, and also you can see the loopbacks are advertised as well. So that's all there. This 192.168.4.0 LAN segment is advertised, and also 192.168.1.0/28. So that's working correctly, and the correct subnet mask is there as well. So there's no problem with that either. So what I want to do now is, if I go to R1, I should see everything. what have I got? So I've got the 10010. So that's actually from the stub routers. That's this one here. So R1 gets this route from this 1001, so that's good. And how about the ERGRP? Yep, 172.16.10 and 172.16.20. The re2 routes, that's the default. That's what OSPF will do. Whenever you redistribute a route into OSPF, the default is an external route, external 2. So they're both there, 172.16.1 and 2. And there's the loop back from the ERGRP as well. And then there's some WAN connected routes. 192.168.1.0, that's from the remote router. So that's a LAN segment. And then some loopbacks. So everything's there. It's a normal area and permit everything, external routes, summary routes. So what I've done is I've verified the adjacencies, the area types are configured correctly, and also the routing is working correctly. And that concludes the lab.